was the worst fucking thing we got at the entire fair.
I've had those once. They're okay.
It
tastes like chicken.
No, they were good a couple years ago, and like I've had them multiple times, but this time when we went, they literally were rubbery as fuck and tasted like
it was really chewy and disgusting.
I feel like that's most food at the fair though. After a while,
I don't know.
Like I've never had the turkey leg. I don't really fuck with turkey.
It was good, man. This Ben got one. I had that big ass fucking bite. That was a good fucking turkey leg, man.
I just it's the first time I've been to the fair and drank.
Okay, yeah, because last time you were probably a minor.
Yeah.
So we did get some pretty schmacking drinks.
We did get some nice drinks.
Got tipsy.
The past couple of weekends, I spent way too much money on drinks because I bought drinks at the fair and then I bought drinks at the Twins game. So
drinks at Twins game are gonna run you. It's shit.
It's the Twins game is actually one of the cheapest stadiums.
Really?
Land of $12 beers.
But you also got the big boys and craft.
You know what else is expensive? Like
it's gonna be $8 if you got
movie theater snacks.
Oh my god, are you shitting me?
It's a magical realm where everything becomes more expensive.
Well, you know that's where they make most of their money off of it is the concessions and stuff.
Because all the ticket proceeds actually go to the film.
I think I heard that they get $1 back from per ticket.
Yeah.
So.
Same for bowling alleys. Let's just name places that sell expensive food.
Any place where food is not the main priority, you're going to be paying a grip for food.
It's true.
So. All right, well, welcome to the Perfect Movie Podcast, the podcast where we answer the question, is this a perfect movie? I'm Kalen.
I'm Michael.
And let's get to it. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be reviewing or discussing a number of different...
the Tolkien verse.
The Tolkien... Is that official?
I might have just coined it just now, but I feel like everybody just slaps verse onto whatever, so... It can happen.
Yeah, so we're talking about the Lord of the Rings. Everything Lord of the Rings, basically. So the Peter Jackson films, probably won't mention the books because I don't really remember shit from the books.
We don't read much.
No.
This has already come up. Not avid readers. We're movie watchers.
And the Amazon Prime series, the new Amazon Prime series, The Rings of Power. So, yeah, let's get to it. Michael, what are your thoughts on Lord of the Rings in general?
It's a cool universe. It's a fun place to hang out. That's what I said when I watched the Rings of Power. That was my biggest takeaway. Is I didn't realize, because I wasn't really excited about the show. I love the original movies. The Hobbit movies are a little iffy. Don't really have don't have the same place in my heart that the Lord of the Rings trilogy does, but they're okay. And
you're not big on fantasy though.
Not like
the genre.
I'm more of a sci-fi guy than a fantasy guy.
Fair enough.
It doesn't appeal to me the same way.
Yeah. It's basically the same concept, just different realms of...
Yeah, I mean, it's not... I mean, like, Star Wars is a fantasy movie. It's just in space.
Yeah. I want to say that George Lucas definitely took some aspects from Lord of the Rings. Because it was written before Star Wars.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, if you didn't know, these were originally books written by J.R.R. Tolkien, the esteemed Tolkien. He was a master of his craft, and
I haven't read them, but I've heard they're
read them a long time ago. Yeah, they're basically like historical novels. Like they're written in that format of I'm talking about events, and it's pretty interesting, but. I don't know. I don't remember anything from it. It's been a long time since I read any of those. So.
I remember you had the books in your little bedroom in the attic. Remember that?
Yes. I was a big Lord of the Rings nerd back in the day.
I mean, you know what slap? Me and Dakota talked about this. The Return of the King video game for like PlayStation and Xbox.
And the Two Towers one too?
Yes.
Oh my god, yeah. Did you ever play the Lord of the Rings Conquest? It was basically like Battlefront but it was Lord of the Rings.
I think it was. I
had
played
that one on 360. I think.
I don't think I ever owned it, but I played the demo a bunch at Walmart. So I really got I got some nasty crooks in my neck staring at the Walmart demo that's like 8 feet tall, and I'm 11 years old.
Those were the good days of being able to just go to Target and while your mom shopped.
Yeah,
and you could just play games, play the GameCube, or like.
I mean, it's still good. I'm glad that they brought the TVs down since then.
Yeah, I think the last Lord of the Rings game I played was Shadow of Mordor.
That's
a good game. It's like the Arkham games, but Lord of the Rings. Anyways, yeah, Lord of the Rings for me, I was pretty big into it. I just love the world, the characters. It's very engaging. It makes you feel very immersed. And you feel like, I want to live there. Like the Shire, like I want to live in the Shire. I would retire.
I would be a giant among the hobbits. They would worship me.
You would be a pretty big fucker.
Actually,
Michael would look like Gandalf. Like,
yeah, it'd be terrible. I'd be bumping my head. I already bumped my head on that ceiling lamp all the time. No, but I also do love the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. I hold it up very highly, and I just rewatched it all yesterday, which is a lot. That's 9 hours of movie.
I know you say I'm the king of hyperbole, but I think these are regarded as some of the greatest films ever made. As a collective and as a production, they're top notch. And these films were created like 20 years ago.
I think it's certainly
they still hold up.
Like the best fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what would approach it. There's a couple other movies I might put up there, and I'm not, like, as I said, the most well-versed in fantasy. But
I think the next closest, like, fantasy-related thing that's on that type of level, people hold it up to that type of level, is like Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Game of Thrones, which is not a movie, but
they tried it with Chronicles of Narnia. It didn't work too well.
Spiderwick Chronicles, Aragon.
Percy Jackson.
They're bringing it back.
Did you see that? I don't care. I don't think I've ever read those books. Yeah, so let's get into the performance test.
It was the performance of a lifetime!
The performance test where we talk about favorite performances, actors, characters, and moments. This is throughout the entire Peter Jackson trilogy. We'll get into more of like the Rings of Power stuff towards the end.
Okay.
Because I have some thoughts about that as well.
Okay, we'll set that aside. Let's mostly talk about
the original trilogy.
Trilogy?
Yeah.
To start?
What would you say is probably your favorite of the three?
Of the movies?
Yeah.
That's tough. I mean, I think it's probably the Return of the King, but like, it's like picking your children, you know? Like, they all have their appeal.
Yeah.
So,
I would say I think my personal favorite is The Fellowship.
Really?
Yeah. I love the world building in that. Just all the vistas and the different places you go, and you're literally traveling with them, and you grow a bond with these characters as they grow a bond with each other. And yeah, I love just all of the Shire is just the music too. It's brilliant when it's all put together, and it just feels so realized and stuff.
You know what I love about Lord of the Rings? It's about family. I'm just kidding.
It's really a film about family.
It is a film about friendship, though. Found family.
It is, yeah.
And that is like what I think about Lord of the Rings and compared to like Game of Thrones, and what doesn't appeal to me about Game of Thrones and why I've never really watched it is because I know it's all about like the intrigue and the backstabbing and the colluding and like all that moving together. And what I think I've made a turn, I think, in my old age, where I just like a movie where, you know, like, it is about friends. Like, really, the Lord of the Rings is about friendship and these people coming together.
So I did watch the Game of Thrones, and there are those aspects. Kodo, I don't know if you've ever watched Game of Thrones, if you can agree with me on this, but it's all about like clans and like.
Never seen. Don't play.
Man, fuck all of you guys. It's a good show. If you like Lord of the Rings, you'll like Game of Thrones.
Okay, that's my ignorant. My ignorance of that show. But But
I agree with what you're saying with the friendship aspect.
So if we're gonna pick, this might need to be a new segment, like MVP. Who's your MVP of the trilogy? And that's tough because there's a lot of good characters. You got Frodo, you got Gandalf, you got Aragorn, you got Legolas. Gimli's a lot of fun. But my number one, I think, Samwise Gamgee.
Yeah, Sam carried the film. I mean, the films. I mean, he literally carried it. I mean, he had to carry fucking Frodo's ass like the whole time.
I cannot carry your burden, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you.
I can carry you, and that shit
Like,
hits in the heart, man.
Truly, like I had some man tears welling up during that time. You know, like he's just
It's borderline homoerotic, but it's like
some of the ways. Look, Kaylin, you're my best friend, but I've never looked at you the way that Frodo looks at Sam.
But don't we all want a friend like Sam?
He'd be like, Sam.
Like Sam.
And he gets all this like lusty look in his eyes.
Mr. Frodo.
I don't know. They might be bagging some other stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Teabagging.
But like really, Sam is just such like a he's just a great dude. Like yes, like you said, everybody wants a friend like Sam. Like Sam's the most loyal friend that you can.
You know
ask
who's
for.
kind of a bad friend? Gandalf. He's always like dipping off on them.
Gandalf's kind of manipulative. Like he is sort of like the chess master of fighting against Sauron, so he kind of needs to be that way. But there's some times where it's like, wow, Gandalf, you're kind of a prick.
Yeah. So you would say Return of the King is probably your number one pick out of the three?
Probably, but it's like
Okay.
it's hard. I can hardly pick.
The Fellowship for me, I know a lot of people think it's a slow burn,
And
but
it is.
I like those slower aspects where, especially in the beginning, where it sets up like the beginning, the opening where Galadriel is kind of explaining the lore behind some of this stuff. That's an epic scene, and I think that's something to be said too about the trilogy overall as well. Is like there's such an epic vastness to it where everything feels. It feels. What's the word I'm looking for?
It feels real world. I don't know.
It does, but it also feels like there's stakes involved with it, and it's like people are. Even though a lot of this stuff happens over hundreds, thousands of years, there's an urgency to everything, but at the same time, it's slow and it's methodical. Where it's like we can slow down and really get these great moments with these characters where the dialogue is really heavy, and there's a lot of like lessons to be learned, especially the stuff that Gandalf talks about. I know there's a scene in Return of the King with Gandalf and Pippin that I really love, and
Yeah, that's a
Gandalf
great
is
one.
talking about death, and that's a beautiful scene. And it's like they're in the middle of a battle, but we get to stop and slow down and think for a minute, and that's great. So
Yeah, I mean that's what you said about Fellowship, where they're like explaining lore in the beginning. I appreciate like there is a lot of lore and like things to understand. You still have more questions after that opening.
sure,
But it never really feels like it gets bogged down. Like lots of movies do that thing where a character just comes on and they only exist to like explain
right.
the plot to you,
exposition guy,
or like the exposition guy, and it doesn't feel like this could easily be a trilogy of movies that is full of exposition guys, but it doesn't really feel like that. It comes across a lot more naturally, and you have to learn a lot, and there's a lot of names and different kingdoms and this and that, and it never really gets too bogged down.
Right.
They end up being 3-hour movies because of it, but they're still, they're excellent.
And the thing is, thanks to the books, it's like if you really want to deep dive into the lore and you're like, I need to know what this is, you can definitely do some research. I mean, there's it's like Star Wars, where the entire wiki page is just filled with information and backstories on characters, their lineage, all that kind of stuff. So
And there are some things that Peter Jackson like took liberties with, changed around, rearranged.
yeah, to make it more coherent for a film.
Which I think when we go to talk about Rings of Power, I just want to say that's already been done. People have done that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. What would you say is your favorite performance as a whole?
I don't know. I already said, Samwise is probably my favorite character. I do. Gimli's just a clown.
Yeah.
Gimli is so fun. We were talking while we were watching it. Gimli just gets up. He's just bloodlust. Like he gets up for a battle.
Right.
The whole time he's doing the like counting the kills the whole time.
Or he's like hyped up that they're gonna go chase after the orcs that kidnapped Merry. And
just
Pippin.
like, yeah.
He's like, yeah.
Or when after the ghosts like maul everyone in that final battle, Aragorn's like, the dude's asking him to set him free, and he's like, these boys are pretty nice in a pinch, so maybe don't let him free, Aragorn. Like he's just a goon, and he's funny.
I think that really sets up like the races of characters as well. It's like the dwarves are just very hardy and very like, we love battle and we like to our gold and our,
It's like, men, eat meat. That's that kind of energy.
I think the part that cracks me up is when Frodo gets stabbed by the what is it, the cave troll, and then he takes off his shirt and he's like, and then Gimli's like, that's Mithril. Boy, I was staying that shit from you. Stop playing with me.
The orcs like the mithril too. They get in a fight in the third movie when Frodo gets wrapped up by the big spider. The orcs find them, and that's when everything goes left for the orcs because the Uruk-hai's like, I have the shiny shirt, and they're like, no, it's mine.
The orcs are all great too.
The orcs are fun. Like, it's hard to pick up.
And these are all just background characters. These are all just like extras, basically, and they're fantastic. The makeup and the effects and like the costume design is all great. We'll get into that more into the It's an Art Bro. But
what about you?
I think my favorite character is probably Gandalf.
Gandalf
is the OG. He's just the best wizard of all time. He's just a cool ass character.
Although I feel like he maybe should have seen Saruman turning bad like a little earlier.
Yeah.
Seems kind of obvious just from his whole vibe. Evil
but
vibe.
I think the point was like so people who don't know the background of like the wizards in Middle Earth, they're all like a sect or like a group that have known each other for millenniums, and like so there was that trust thing too, where it was like, this is my friend, and so he probably didn't see that coming. So he didn't want to see it coming,
No, that's true. And Gandalf he has like different layers. He can be like very kind,
yes,
but like on the opposite end, remember when like of that Pippin scene where they're talking about death and it's very sweet and he's very comforting?
Yeah.
Opposite end is when they're in the Mines of Moria and like Pippin knocks a bunch of shit over,
right?
Completely snaps on him. He's like, you idiot.
Yeah.
Like, we are screwed now.
Fool of a took.
Yeah. So I like when he snaps off on people because he's got that.
Or like when he'll stand up and then the room will just go dark and he's just like, his voice is just bellowing and echoing and stuff. It's really cool. Like,
that's wait, Ian McDiarmid? No, that's wrong. That's McKellen.
Ian McKellen, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Ian McGinnis, but that's somebody else.
Alec McGinnis.
There's a lot of old fuckers.
Ian McKellen, yeah. Also, Magneto. No.
Yep.
Professor X.
No,
he's Magneto.
Yeah. Yeah, he's in a few things. He's got a very distinct voice, and I think that's what works with his character so well too. And it's like he's just so. I mean, when you hear his dialogue, it's like reading a book, and that's what I like the most from him. So apparently, these films are very difficult to make. So this is directed by Peter Jackson. He's done a number of different films. I think his other notable one after this was King Kong, and that one didn't do as well critically.
Starring Jack Black.
Okay.
And Adrian Brody, and running past a bunch of dinosaurs that look like shit.
Everything looks really rubbery.
That's quite that was like our first sign that the Hobbits were going to be fucked.
Yeah. I don't know what happened. I guess it was just a different studio and the budget was different.
So I have some explanations on the background of that. Should we wrap up the performance test? Or do you have any? I kind of think we need to talk a little more about some characters, just because there's so many amazing characters.
Yeah, we can talk some more about characters.
Aragorn. Viggo Mortensen.
Yep.
Hey, fun fact that everyone knows, when he kicked that helmet, he broke his foot. That's why he screamed so hard.
Gimli broke like every bone in his body filming the Rohan scenes.
What?
Yeah, when they're they're just like trekking through the fucking mountains and shit. He broke like every bone in his body doing that.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yeah. All I knew was about Viggo Mortensen's foot. Aragorn, I love his introduction when they go into that bar and they're just like, it's the Ranger, and he's got the cloak on.
You can't
he's
see
in the
his
darkness,
face.
and he's smoking some weed.
I know. Well, okay, so going back to weed and weed in Middle Earth. So, that's basically what Gandalf and Bilbo were doing.
Yeah.
In the beginning, they're just smoking weed. He was like,
Old
"This
friends.
is the finest weed in the South Parley," or like whatever. And they're just like blowing fucking sailboats and shit. Like that was some gas, boy. That shit was that Middle Earth.
That's why Bilbo couldn't make a speech. He was high.
Boy was paranoid up there, and like fiddling.
He's like,
with
it's time for me to go.
Back
this
to
weed
Aragorn.
was too strong.
Yeah, Aragorn was a cool ass character. He's just a badass too.
And his relationship with Liv Tyler's elf character is very like key and central. She helps him out in the Fellowship. All the elves are very magical.
Yeah.
And she basically like conjures a tsunami.
Yeah,
Like what?
it was pretty crazy.
I forgot about that. I forgot that the
They
elves were
took
so
the
magical.
form of like horses, right? Like the water did. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
really
like,
cool.
Legolas kind of weak. All you do is shoot arrows. Get with the program.
The magic is very subtle in this world. Like it's not super in your face. Like I can't think of anything. But
Except for the Gandalf and Saruman battle, where it's just basically like force powers, where they're just kind of shoving each other around.
yeah, that was a little strange.
It was compared to the other magic, which is
Right.
all very kind of like vague, and it's like when you were talking about like when the room goes dark, when Gandalf, like I think that's him doing magic, or
Yeah.
like Grima Wormtongue, like cursing and leeching off King Theoden, and they
but
basically
that was Saruman the whole time.
was it?
He,
I thought
he
it
was influencing Theoden.
Oh,
Yeah.
Did he, I thought Wormtongue was, because Theoden says something like your leechcraft was going to, keep me.
I think what it was that because Wormtongue worked with Saruman,
Yeah.
so he must have cast a spell and that allowed Saruman to basically like possess Theoden.
Yeah. I mean, there's no weak links, and there's a million guys. I mean, Elijah Wood.
Yeah,
Probably-
he seems to be the most overlooked performance in the entire. I don't think he won anything. This movie actually won every Grammy that they were nominated for.
Or Academy Award?
Films, every Academy Award. They won every single one.
Yeah, Return of the King cleaned up.
And I think Sam, the actor who plays Sam, what's his name?
Sean Astin.
Sean Astin. He won the best supporting role.
Yeah,
And I don't think Elijah won anything, but I think he should have because his performance is great.
he's very good. Oh, one standout I almost left behind, Gollum.
Why didn't? Yeah.
Like
Why
you
didn't we
can't
think-
forget Gollum.
Okay, so he was one of the first like fully CG characters that utilized the motion capture effects, and that was played by the guy who does Caesar in Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I'm blanking on. I'm looking it up.
He's also Andy Serkis. He's also in the Marvel movies. He plays Claw, Ulysses Claw or something.
Yeah, he's in Black Panther.
Yeah, he's in Black Panther. He's in Age of Ultron. He's a great actor too. But he's like one of those well-known actors where he does like the full body
That's his main deal.
CG stuff.
I think he also played King Kong.
Really?
Okay,
That would make sense. I mean, since it's
I believe so. But like the Gollum, it was like a technical achievement just to have
and it
him.
still looks great. I know some of the earlier stuff looks a little wonky, but it still looks great to this day.
Yeah, there's a few
2 decades later.
ropey scenes, but Gollum is just it's such a complicated character, and you have to play it with like you do pity him sometimes.
Yeah, you do feel sympathy.
And you can tell why, and also great performance from Elijah Wood. Like he feels a bond with him because fellow ring bearer.
Like the scene where Gollum leads him through Shelob's lair, and that when Elijah gets out, he's attacked by Gollum, and they fight for a little bit, and after he like defeats Gollum for a second, and he's like, "I'm doing this for both of us," and you see they're both crying and stuff, and it's just like that's just a great character moment because it's not that Gollum's evil, it's that he's been influenced and he's so attached to this thing, and yeah,
he's been twisted by the ring, and
they both were ring bearers at a time.
Yeah, and he, I think Elijah sees, Frodo sees a bit of himself.
And Sam's
Gollum.
like, "Fuck that! I want to."
Yeah, Sam hates Gollum, and I mean he's kind of right. I love that he's always like, the fat one hates us. The fat one is always so mean.
And I think also there's a little jealousy with Sam too, where it's like, Frodo's my friend,
Right.
You can't come in here and try to be all buddy buddy with my homie.
Grimy motherfucker coming in here, befriending.
You can smell that nigga through
for
the
sure.
screen, like.
For sure. Hasn't bathed in probably like millennia.
Orlando Bloom is Legolas, kind of a wet bag of sand. He's not the most interesting character. He's very cool. He's got a lot of cool moments, especially the moment where he takes down that elephant or the elephant. It's a cool moment. He's got like every movie. He's got like that big action set piece where he's like doing something super ridiculous. And it works for his character. It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, it's fun. Like his poise and not like he doesn't do a lot is good to play off having Gimli be his friend, and Gimli's like the complete clown, and he's like, all right, friend.
I think all the elves are kind of like that though. Just they're very one note, and I think that speaks to their race because they probably think they're superior. They have a superiority complex where it's like we're basically gods.
Yeah.
So whatever we want to get out of Middle Earth basically. So.
Yeah. It's not even a performance note. I just never realized that the butcher is in here.
Yeah, you know what? I realized that the other day. Fucking what's his name? I'm so bad with these actors' names, dude.
Dude, I'm trying to scroll through this cast, but it's so long, and IMDb
Just look up
is
the boy.
struggling me.
Look up the boys.
Carl Urban.
Yeah, he's a very young Carl Urban.
Very young Carl Urban. Like, so many of these actors also are like
He plays Éomer.
But have also played, like, they end up in so many, like, big movies.
Yeah.
Like, Christopher Lee walked off this set to go be in the prequels, you know?
Yeah, and then Ian McGuinness, he's in the X-Men movies. And
Yeah, McKellen.
Ian McKellen, yeah.
Yeah, and Carl Urban, he's Bones in Star Trek.
And Elijah Wood was never really in anything big after this.
Elijah Wood, I think, founded his own, like, production company, and that's mostly what he did.
And he made, like, small indie films.
Yeah.
Like, I know he did this one called Maniac, where it was like he was a serial killer. And then he was in Sin City, where he also played a serial killer.
Isn't he in the, what's that called? Like, I'm going to say Utility Knife Man, but that's not it. Swiss Army Man.
No, that's the Harry Potter guy.
Is it?
Yeah.
They're the same person in my head.
Basically.
They're just these wide-eyed whites.
They look like they're 12, but
Yeah,
they're grown men. Like,
Oh, one thing I didn't realize until I looked it up. Treebeard. Do you know who does the voice for Treebeard? It's Gimli. It's John Rhys Davies.
Oh, really? Okay, now I can see that you say that. Okay.
John Rhys Davies is also in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Oh.
He's, I forget his name, but...
Okay. And then Viggo Mortensen, he's in a few things. He's in a movie about a horse.
Nice.
That's like, but that movie was like a big thing when it dropped.
Warhorse?
No, but it was like it was going on. They're like on a rate, like a big race or something. It was like a fantasy kind of like set in the Middle East. Where,
He's in the movie that won an Oscar that everybody was mad about. The
Road?
Recently it was like something sides outside of Hibbing, whatever.
Okay.
You know what I'm
I don't
talking
know
about?
that one, no.
Well, it was basically like Driving Miss Daisy again.
Have you seen The Road?
No.
Which is a post-apocalyptic film where it's basically like The Last of Us concept where he's like dragging around his son the entire film. It's the bleakest shit I've ever seen. It's a really good movie, but he's great in that.
Hugo Weaving, Elrond, walks off this set, plays not Mr. Anderson, but Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Agent Smith in The Matrix. Yeah, it's just a really stacked
so I guess
cast.
maybe this was like the Fellowship was like a catalyst for all these actors to.
Billy Boyd shows up for like 5 minutes in the Star Wars sequels, the new ones.
He does, yeah. What the fuck?
Doesn't do
You
anything.
don't see him in anything else ever again.
I think he's just got a good agent.
I saw him in a commercial. Or it was either him or the guy who plays Pippin.
They're the same person in my head.
They're also great too. They're great characters as well. Merry and Pippin.
Yes. All right. I think we've gone on long enough.
Yeah, we can move on to It's an Art Bro.
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, that way.
Where we talk about specific things in the filmmaking process. So, like I was saying, this film was very difficult to make. A lot of people got injured making this. The sets and the costume designs are top notch. They used a lot of miniatures for a lot of the bigger vistas, like the castles and everything.
Yeah, it was a lot of they were prepping. So one thing that sets apart this from like The Hobbit. So before they started filming, they did 3.5 years of pre-production, making sets, scouting places, scouting locations, building, all the outfits and stuff for everyone. And they were prepping for so long. But then come The Hobbit, it was like this whole is what's his name? The Hellboy Del Toro was Del Toro gonna do it, and then he didn't ended up doing it, and then Peter Jackson just kind of picked it up. And basically, one producer said it was like we were on a train and we were laying down the track right in front of us. Like they were just running as they go. Yeah. Like they didn't have this prep process.
There was a lot of green screen involved with The Hobbit.
So the reason that The Hobbit looks so different is partially because that. Okay. Because they didn't he took all this time to prepare to do The Lord of the Rings, right. And The Hobbit he just kind of had to pick up and go.
Yeah, and that really shows.
Also, he decided to shoot it in 48 frames a second and in 3D.
Yeah. There's actually a whole documentary, it's like a 2-hour documentary on the making of The Lord of the Rings. And there's so much work that went into these films. It's kind of insane.
One thing that really impressed me is because there's the hobbits and there's the dwarves, so we have all these half-size people that are full-size actors. Right. And they constantly are having to do bring in a small person or have a forced perspective on the set.
And it's not very noticeable in the film at all.
No, I just can't imagine the headache and planning it takes to do that and have it be so seamless. You don't think about it at all.
Because every time a hobbit is turned around and facing a character, it's a stunt double. It's not the actual actor. Either that or they're kneeling down on something or it's very tedious work. Holy shit.
I'm sure it took a lot of planning to do that. And alternately in The Hobbit, so since they were shooting in 3D, they could not do forced perspective tricks because 3D. Right. You're seeing the depth. So literally, Ian McKellen lost his mind because he was playing by himself on a green screen and got comped into literally every shot with a dwarf or any sort of half-sized person. So he just was shooting for months and months and months by himself in an all-green environment, and I think he hated it.
This sounds awful.
Yeah, pretty miserable. He couldn't sit across and play off anyone. But it doesn't it's honestly impressive because you wouldn't.
Everything is so well put together.
I don't think you would notice that in The Hobbit, and he's still great in The Hobbit, but in this, at least you got to, play across from all
And I think that goes to show, everything was basically practical effects. I remember watching the documentary for the making of, and all the arrows were real arrows that they were shooting. I mean, obviously they weren't dangerous, but they had a big a turret machine where they would just shoot off 30 arrows into the air, and then they'd finish off the effects after or whatever. It's just so insane, and just the amount of costumes in this film where they're literally filming armies of people. Mm-hmm. That's insane to me. Hats off to the costume designers and everything.
Or the Battle of Helm's Deep, there's there's a full-size miniature for overhead shots where they're comping in and putting in all the CGI characters, but for other shots there was a 50-foot miniature built that people would act on, and it's so impressive. And these movies are so I saw it was 94 million on average which today sounds really small, but I looked at the prequels, they were about 110. Okay. So, but it's still cheaper than the prequels. And let me tell you, this has aged way better than the prequels. The prequels were kind of hideous when they came out. Yeah. But those were literally, made at around the exact same time.
Yeah. And even the CG characters too. I know all the trolls are CG, Gollum, obviously. Everything melts so well together. And I think partially it's due to the lighting. And this is what they did with the T-Rex in Jurassic Park 2. The reason the T-Rex looks so good in that fucking film is the lighting that they had involved with it. And I know the Battle of Helm's Deep is all in darkness. Entire thing is at night. And the Return of the King, I think the effects are a little bit more noticeable just because the entire battle sequence is basically during the day. But then also you have to think of all the fucking horses that they had in the scene where the Rohirrim charged the fucking Minas Tirith or whatever. Oh my Jesus Christ. It's just so much, dude. And then all the orc costumes and everything, all the facial.
Yeah, you just got hundreds and hundreds of orcs at all times.
I just can't imagine the amount of work, and I hope these people got fucking paid for that shit.
Yeah, I hope you're getting. Residuals.
Yeah, I just like I said before, the Shire. I love the Shire and the feel of that place. It's just so this is all shot in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I think the Shire is a real place you can go to.
Yeah, so they built that place in some guy rented the area, some farmer or whatever. They built the Shire, and then they tore it down after The Lord of the Rings. But then when they came back to the same spot for The Hobbit, and they built it, and they basically made a deal where they left it, and now it's
a tourist attraction. Yeah. I will go take a holiday. And
New Zealand looks beautiful, honestly. the perfect spot to shoot this type of movie because everything just looks so grand, and you can have so many different, so many different natural environments all in one place.
I think my favorite shot in the entire trilogy is this shot where Gandalf goes to rescue the riders in Faramir, and the Nazgul are chasing after him, and then they're on the big drakes or whatever. And there's that shot where they turn around and they're going back towards Minas Tirith, and then you just see the White City, and just like it's this huge, beautiful, like wide shot, and you just see the mountains and the castle, and that's like it's insane because they comp that fucking.
It all together.
It looks like a real place, and it's insane the effects. And these films are 2 decades old now, and they still look so good. And I hope they do like a full remaster where this is like in crispy ass 4K. Did you watch this as the original theatrical cuts, or did you watch
I looked at the runtimes of the extended versions, and I was like, you don't got enough time in the day.
So I prefer the extended versions just because they're more in line with the books, and then you get some extra dialogue scenes. There's a scene where Gandalf faces the Witch King that they cut. I don't know why they fucking cut, but the Witch King, like, he basically ambushes Pippin and Gandalf as they're riding to save Faramir because his father's about to burn him. And the Witch King comes and he's on his dragon and he's got a flaming fucking sword, and it's just the coolest fucking shot. And I don't know why they took it out. There's some scenes in the extended cuts I have no idea why they cut it out. Maybe basically for the runtime.
Yeah, but probably just because they're already 3 hours in their theatrical cut, and like.
But I mean, that's why the beauty of streaming now is where it's like we can watch these things and pause them when we want to, and we can. Come back to them and be at the same spot that we left off of.
People love them. I've definitely been invited to a party which was like we were gonna watch all of the extended cuts back to back to back.
I think me and you went to.
I don't think I did it though.
I think you did. This was when we used to do a youth group together, and we did a Lord of the Rings marathon.
Maybe.
And I believe you're.
I believe so. Like I believe I know what you're talking about, but I just feel like I did not pay that much attention. If I did, there's a lot of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. So this original trilogy, I mean, it's timeless.
It's classic.
Some of the hyperbole king here. Some of the greatest films ever made, and there's no real argument to that.
I don't think it's hyperbole. Like here, I'm saying I'm right there with you. Like they're fucking amazing. Like there's not. I can't imagine the person. Well, I can't imagine the person. It's probably someone like very low attention span that just doesn't care about this particular fantasy. They just can't get into it or whatever. But like
that's fine.
For most people, like you're gonna be in it.
Like my parents liked these films,
right?
And I think too because they have a lot of religious undertones, where it's like people who are religious, they look at these movies as like I don't know, it's methodical to them.
Yeah, there's some allegory there, maybe.
Yeah, and they go because J.R. Tolkien, he took a lot of inspiration from the Bible, and so him and like C.S. Lewis and a bunch of different authors, they were all in like a writing club together, and they all swapped ideas and stuff. So basically the character of Aragorn and the character of Aslan are the same character.
I'm just imagining like the religious writer swap meet, and it's probably like a really really lame.
So which character do you have as Jesus?
Oh man, what a dorky club, but classic I guess.
So let's move on to Let the Hate Flow Through You, and then our last segment we'll talk a little bit about The Hobbit, and we'll talk a little bit about The Rings of Power.
Good. Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
Yeah, do you have any gripes?
They're really damn long. A lot of them have been cut, and it's not even an annoyance or complaint so much. It's like you look at it and you're like, damn, 3 hours, but it's you're plugged in.
I've seen these movies so many times that the runtime is starting. I end up skipping through a lot of these films now, where it's like I still want to watch these every once in a while, just because they're just so well made, and I just love that world so much. But the runtime does stay its welcome.
I think the only part I really skipped past a bit, and I didn't skip past the whole of it, is when they go into like the magic forest where Galadriel is. They hang out there for a while. Yeah. Although the scene where is really good, where Frodo looks into Looking Well, and then Galadriel sees the ring, and she like goes demon mode for a minute, and it's like real scary.
Yeah.
Because like
there's a lot of moments like that. I think the Two Towers has a moment where all the Treebeard stuff I kind of skip past because I'm just like...
Treebeard's so fun, though. Treebeard is amazing. Treebeard's like the best part of those movies.
Really?
I love the
I
ends.
find myself skipping through those parts to get to the battle scenes.
I mean, sure, but they're so like... I just think Treebeard's a fun character. And just the way...
He's cool.
And I wonder if... Do you think Pippin just wanted to go to... what's it called? Saruman's Tower? Or did he... Isengard? Or... Did he think in his mind, like, I know Isengard, maybe he doesn't know, is fucked, and that Treebeard will see that and be mad?
I think that's what it was, where it's like they were cutting down all the trees and burning the forest and everything, and they're like, if we bring
He'll take us
Treebeard
seriously.
here, then we got to do something about this, because these are my peeps.
Because I really love the scene where he's just, like, weeping about all the trees.
They were never there prior to, though, in the films. That, like, Merry and Pippin never saw.
But I think they saw it.
Power.
I think as they were walking, they saw it.
Or they know that that things are happening in Isengard that Treebeard doesn't.
Because that's where
Gandalf.
that's where the Uruk-hai were taking them,
Yeah.
and they mentioned that. Yeah.
Remember? They're taking the hobbits to Isengard.
Didn't that turn into a song or some shit? Yeah, there's a lot of memeable stuff. I think the thing with Sean Bean where he's like, one cannot simply walk into Mordor. That became like a national meme.
After all, why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I hold on to the ring? That's one. There's so many Lord of the Rings memes. Lord of the Rings rivals SpongeBob for the amount of memes.
We forgot to mention Sean Bean in this because he was
dead.
great as Boromir. He's also in the Game of Thrones, and he also dies very early in the Game of Thrones. So
You hire Sean Bean to kill him.
yeah, but he's a great actor. He's very like if you need an actor for a medieval film, you hire Sean Bean.
Yeah, he looks like he crawled out of the the dust of the 1200s. You know, he's just got that kind of face and energy.
Yeah, so I agree with you on the runtime.
Yeah,
I think.
We're not talking about stuff we hate.
No, I mean, because there's not much to really pick through. Number one, it's a long ass movie. I can't remember everything. Number two, there's nothing that really stands out as like this fucking sucks, because these are all great.
I'm really struggling to think of a thing that I really hate.
Yeah, I think I have kind of an issue with Sauron as an antagonist. He's kind of felt throughout the whole trilogy, but he doesn't really do much. As far as I think his influence is set, where it's like he's kind of like the devil in that sense, where he's kind of manipulative and he influences people to do his bidding, kind of thing. But he's not a physical threat.
No,
because I don't know. I kind of the whole idea of him being the main villain is kind of non-existent, where it's like there's no lines of dialogue with him at all. Maybe the mouth of Sauron, but that's a deleted scene.
There's the eye, like there's some Eye of Sauron stuff, like when I think he whispers some like to Frodo through the ring and through the the seeing eye that like Pippin messes with, the
crystal ball or whatever.
Yeah,
that shit is.
that Saruman would use to speak to Sauron. But I don't have a problem with that, because that's kind of like, I think, the theme of the whole movie is that Sauron is just like this evil force that just spoils things, like ruins things and turns things.
But then it's like,
rotten.
what is he really doing? Like, what's his end game? He just wants to rule.
Well, he
everything?
wants the ring, because I think can he get a physical form again once he gets the ring?
I guess maybe I missed that, but yeah.
I'm pretty sure at some point Gandalf says, like, if he achieves the ring, he can, like, return.
But then there's all these, like, secondary antagonists, like Saruman, or even some of the orcs, too.
Oh, what's his name?
And,
the king of Rohan? He's kind of an antagonist. He
At first.
Well, he's the one that, am I thinking of the wrong place?
Oh, no, the king of
Gondor?
He's the steward of Gondor. Yeah.
Yes. Because, like, he wants to burn Faramir alive.
Oh, I love the scene too where he looks over the balcony, he just sees the siege, like the armies coming to siege the castle, and he's just like, abandon your posts. And everybody, fuck this, like we're all gonna die.
Gandalf beats his ass.
Beats the shit out of him with his staff, like yeah.
And then the whole army is like, I think we're riding with Gandalf. Yeah. Like this guy is
he's like, return to your posts.
Yeah. Your Gandalf is much better than your
my
Morgan Freeman.
Frodo Baggins of Baggins.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. He's kind of maybe the most physical antagonist of the third movie.
Yeah. And then there's like the Witch King.
Yeah.
The scene where I am no man.
The first girls get it done.
Yeah.
Maybe not the first one, but
it didn't. It was a little cringy, but then I was like, it's all right. It was whatever.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm no man, and she pulls off her helmet and all her golden.
I feel like
blonde
it's
hair
kind of
is
irresponsible for her to encourage Mary to go to battle because
like-
he's gonna get fucked up.
She's like, come on,
I love when
let
they're
him fight for those he loves.
when they're outside the Black Gate and they're like, charge, and I think like Aragorn rides first or someone, and then the two hobbits run, but then they're immediately like overran by everyone else.
They just get trampled by everybody.
You would think they would just get trampled by a horse.
Apparently they had hands though, because they're just. I mean, these orcs are kind of like the stormtroopers, where they suck.
Yeah,
But it's their numbers that get the job done, kind of thing.
yeah, they're a mass threat, but they're not very intelligent.
No.
Kind of dense.
I love the scene where Sam and Frodo are in the tower of Ungoliath or something.
Some shit like that. There's so many places.
But it's basically the whole tower is run by Uruk-hai and Orc, and then the Uruk-hai and Orcs, they get in a fight over a shirt, and then
Yeah.
it
The shiny
escalates.
shirt is
It
mine.
escalates into them all just brutally murdering each other until everybody in the fucking castle is dead.
Sam just shows up and it's just all bodies. There's like 4 guys left.
They were scrapping, man.
That's
Like,
hilarious. They have no regard for each other because
No,
in
they
the Helm's Deep battle, they're on the like bridge and they're bringing the ram up to the door, and they're just Uruk-hai are just getting knocked off on both sides as they like fly through with the ram.
Cool thing about orcs, they were originally elves in the lore. It's pretty cool. Yeah, there's a lot of.
Nothing in the Tolkien universe is inherently evil.
It's true, and I think that's another thing too with like Gollum and stuff. Like he's not evil.
He's been
He's
warped.
influenced.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We don't got shit to hate because
Yeah.
guess what?
it's a perfect movie.
You lost a baby brother. Perfect in every way.
I had a baby brother. I had a little baby brother. And he was perfect. Perfect in every way.
They're perfect movies, plural.
Yeah.
These have stood the test of time, and they are timeless.
Question: do we induct the trilogy as a whole? Do we do like Academy Awards kind of did, where they just gave special effects awards to the first two, and then they were like Return of the King? This is where we blow out the awards. Do we just do the Return of the King?
I say
them
if we
all?
do that, we have to do them all, because I see these as one single thing where it's like these films are all. I mean, they're all connected. You can't watch one without the other, and
Yeah.
so if we were to induct them, then yes, it'd have to be all three. I think,
All right. Well, I think there's no question.
but we can count it as one.
Yeah.
You know,
It's one on the list. Lord of the Rings trilogy.
yeah,
The OGs. They're so good.
great movies. And if you haven't watched them, take 8 hours of your day.
Right. Right. Stake out a whole fucking afternoon and evening.
These
and-
are a good, like, you know, sitting down with your boo kind of movie, and
Yeah. You could take it slow. You can watch one.
yeah,
Watch the
watch
next
them with
one.
your parents, because I'm sure your parents would like them. I know my parents do, and they don't like anything. So I'm just kidding. They do like stuff.
My parents are haters.
I'm just kidding. You can mention to them that they have religious overtones,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Okay, let's check it out."
It's really a story about family.
So we can make this quick, but we can talk a little bit about the new Rings of Power show and how it didn't really work for me. I know you said that you enjoyed them a little bit more than I did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, like, it's tough. Same for, like, I mean, Peter Jackson couldn't do it with The Hobbit either.
No.
It's tough to live up to, like, the best fantasy series of all time.
Right.
So it's kind of an impossible task, which they took on themselves. So they, you know.
But I get worried about it because it reminds me of Star Wars and what they did with Star Wars. And where it's like, we have all this content, like literally we have books filled with stories. Why is it so hard to create something coherent? And not saying, I mean, it's a little early to tell, but from what I've seen with Rings of Power, nothing has really grabbed me like the original trilogy did. And I think the most interesting thing is the world, again, where it's like, Middle Earth is already, it feels like a real place. And to go back to that, even with The Hobbit too, where it's like just returning to that world and these characters and like the races of people, like the hobbits feel distinct. The elves feel distinct. The dwarves feel distinct, and they're their own culture, and they feel like real fucking places. And like that's what I love the most about it. But it's when we get into the characters of like Galadriel and how she's just such a wet bag of sand.
And she's kind of our primary character. There's several storylines, but she seems to be kind of our main character. She's the first one we meet.
So this is based off of the Silmarillion, which is a lore book essentially, where there was no real distinct story to it. It wasn't like it followed a group of characters. It was more like, okay, these are the events that happened and the outcomes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a historical document almost, more than like a story.
Yeah. And it was about how the Rings of Power were forged, and Isildur's finding of the ring, and the conflict of the elves versus the first Dark Lord, Morgoth, and then the coming of Sauron too. So there's a lot of different things to unpack, and they're trying to make a story out of that. But then also they're changing stuff, and a lot of people are very upset about this production. And I don't really understand the outrage, I guess, because I'm not like an uber fan who's read all the books.
I'm a don't like it, don't watch it kind of guy. Like,
yeah.
why do we got to rage about this kind of stuff?
But it's the same thing with Marvel and the same thing with Star Wars. People care about this stuff, and like you have to have some type of reverence and respect to the property that you're creating and to its fans, because people it's like religion to people.
Yeah,
and
nerds take it pretty far. I just don't think there's anything in the Rings of Power show that is like an affront to Tolkien or like an affront.
I don't think it warrants outrage.
I think it's definitely, like I said, it doesn't stand up to the original trilogy. Like almost nothing would. I think it's pretty good. I'm not like even saying that it's excellent so far.
I think the biggest thing is people have problems with characters of color and the women protagonists. That's what people are the most upset about. Which,
like, I have no time for that kind of bullshit.
So, like, just shut up. Like, it's not real. This is a fantasy fucking epic where it's like, who cares what these people look like?
I don't think, and I might be wrong, but I haven't seen anywhere, I'm not the Tolkien expert, but like, I don't think the races for the most part are like, this race is all white and blonde, and they all look like this way. Like, sure, specific characters are described specific ways in these books and in the Silmarillion, but like, I don't think you need to like I can understand being mad about lore things in your favorite nerd thing. I'm mad about some of the things that has happened to Star Wars and is now canon.
Sure.
But the difference being, like, when I think it's stupid that the Emperor comes back, all that would affect if they change that is the actor that plays the Emperor doesn't get a job that day. Doesn't get another paycheck, which I'm sure he's doing fine. But if you're going to be making the like most expensive like media enterprise, like this is they spent like $400+ million on the production of this season, and then like an extra $300 on like advertising and all that stuff.
Like $1 billion and
like
and some
it's like
change.
it's not over $1 billion, but I think it's like $700+ million all told for.
It's the most expensive TV show ever made.
So you're gonna make that, and then you're telling me, I'm gonna do an all-white casting call?
Yeah.
Like you gotta be like insane to do that. Like the real world implications of that are completely like different than like one character being changed around or whatever.
And I think because people look back on the original trilogy where there weren't any characters of color. I think the only characters of color were like almost like the Middle Eastern types where they were from the East, and they specifically said these are a group of people that were from a different place. And so that in that sense it makes sense, and it's not like there was any agenda to that or anything, where it's like the Lord of the Rings is loosely based on Norse mythology, where it's like you're in a certain place, a certain region where people look this type of way. And people are upset because they'd be like, oh, it's like if you make a Black Panther movie and one of the Wakandans is white, kind of thing. And I guess I kind of understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, it's like, who cares? Like,
yeah, ultimately,
I don't see the outrage in that. It's kind of jarring to see a black Hobbit.
Well, also, the one thing I did read
just
was...
because you've never seen that before.
I was confused, and I looked it up, because I was like, Harfoot, is that a Hobbit? And, like, literally, one thing that is said is Harfoots are the browner of the three Hobbit races. Like,
okay, then
so,
there
like,
you go.
It all adds up there. And even if that's not the case, like, guess what?
And there's a black dwarf woman, too.
Yeah.
And I don't think she was that great as a character, but...
I liked her, honestly.
Okay.
That was, okay, so if we're going to talk a little bit about Rings of Power, that was the moment where I was like, I have some hope in the show, is when Elwyn visits the dwarf fortress, because he meets, I forget the dwarf's name, but he's all pissed off at him.
It's Durin.
Durin, and he's not sure why. And they do this whole, like, test of strength, where they're, like, breaking rocks until one of them can't. And Elwyn loses, and he's like, I'm going to banish you for forever now because you lost this. And he's just miffed at him. And they go for the longest, and they're finally like, he's going to walk him out. He's riding up the elevator, and he's like, if I did anything wrong, like, let me know. I don't know what the deal is. And he's like, you missed my wedding. You missed the birth of my children. Like, I have 2 kids now. You may live forever, but I don't. And I think, that's grounded in, like, real, like, lore shit. Like, we have an
immortal elf,
and a dwarf of, probably close to typical, like, human
everybody
lifespan.
Everybody
lives very long in Middle Earth, but he's not immortal. He's got, the time is ticking. And, like, I think that's a funny character moment, because I love that dwarves are always like, they don't want, the men are always so, like, closed off and like angsty and shit, and then he just breaks. Like, he just is like, the way he breaks on that just made me smile. And then, like, the way that all works out, where he's like, okay, you can come for dinner, and his wife's like, you're being an asshole. Like, this is actually...
Calm down.
You need to relax. Like, this is your friend. Let's be friends.
Right.
And I just thought, like I said, Lord of the Rings. It's a story about friendship.
It's about friendship. It's about family.
Yeah. And that's the moment that still is like, I don't like episode 3 as much as I liked episode 2, which has this moment. And I think that, and also the Harfoot, those feel like good sub stories with like likable characters that are like, you really want to root for, and
it feels,
empathize
and
with.
it's not like, I don't want to be that guy where it's like, it's something I know, but it feels,
it's familiar.
It's familiar in a warm way, where it's like, this is why I love Middle Earth, and this is why I love Lord of the Rings, kind of thing. The 3rd episode didn't do much for me. The action kind of sucks. I don't know. It's a little too early to tell.
They sure love their jumping and doing stuff in slow motion, and it's so
it's like, what is this, 2006?
I know. What is this, like, freaking? What was that Zack Snyder movie with all the women? You know what I'm talking about?
Sucker Punch?
Yeah, is this Sucker Punch? Like,
Jesus Christ.
What are we doing? Although Zack Snyder does that in like every movie, is slow-mo punching.
The outrage is stupid. People need to calm the fuck down.
Like, I cannot imagine
There's a war in Ukraine right now where people are literally losing their fucking lives every single day. Calm the fuck down about your fantasy.
The Queen is dead.
The Queen is dead. We need to be outraged about that. God damn it.
But, like, it's just, I cannot imagine. Like, ultimately, I'd find it harmless. Whether you like it or not, I'm like, it's a pretty good show, in my opinion. It's like a 7, 8 out of 10 right now. That's what I would call it. And it's like, how could you be this pissed off?
Well, it's because people did the same. So I think trend on YouTube is where people are just making these, like, rant videos where they just hate everything before they even see the final product. Look. They did that with, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but they did that with fucking House of the Dragons. And then House of Dragon came out, and everybody's like, this shit is fucking fantastic, and it feels like the original seasons of Game of Thrones. It's like, people need to calm the fuck down and just reserve judgment until all the facts come out and you can make your own opinion on something. Like,
all I was going to say is, they've been mad since the first trailer. Like,
they didn't even see it. It was like a minute-long trailer. It's just like, how are you upset about this?
And if you're some internet personality that just did a whole rant about and has been like working on this for months, where the Rings of Power, it's an affront to Tolkien. It's a a total.
What it is clickbait bullshit, though.
Yeah, And negativity sells on the internet way better than anything positive. And I honestly, conspiracy theory, Amazon kind of likes it.
Oh yeah, for sure, because they're always making these response videos or tweeting back to people, and they're like they're fanning the flame, and it keeps it spreading.
And it piques interest. Honestly, I was not that interested in the show when I saw the trailer. I wasn't mad about it. No. I was just like, I don't know if I care about a new Lord of the Rings thing, but I think part of the reason I checked it out is because everybody's so pissed off about it, and I was like, I want to see why everybody's so mad. And then I watched it, and I'm like, why is anyone mad? Like,
personally, I don't think it's the greatest thing ever made, but I mean, there's moments that are good, and like it looks beautiful.
It is, yeah.
It's the budget was fully utilized, so I mean, I don't know. It's still 3 episodes in, and we still have a full season left, and it's like people just calm the fuck down, man. There's more things to worry about that are real.
Please don't waste your time being angry about the fucking Rings of Power. Yeah. Please.
So, I mean, going back to what we said, the Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy, they are perfect movies. They're great. If you haven't seen them, go watch them. I mean, just reserve some time. You don't have to watch them all at once. Just watch one every week, maybe every Saturday or something. Just check it out. They're good films.
Make a little chart and put a little sticker on it so you feel good after you've watched each movie. You can move on to the Hobbit. You can go like 6 wide, and then you can buy yourself a nice snack.
And you can watch the old animated movies.
Yes, you know the animated ones were like a paint. I think they did like, I forget what you call it, but like
it's like they were paint over.
They were painting over real live footage.
Yeah,
that sounds painstaking and miserable.
But that's how they did a lot of animation back then. That was like cell shading, which is like they did that with the Sleeping Beauty, Snow White.
Really?
And
they
did a lot of that back in the day. I think they did that with Jungle Book too, and a lot of like the older Disney films. A lot of the shots are the same. It's just they're painted differently. So it's like there's a shot in the Jungle Book that's the same as a shot in Winnie the Pooh kind of thing, where it's like, yeah, it's interesting. But anyways. There's animated films. There's 2. There's one of The Hobbit and one of The Return of the King. And they're both in the same animated style. I don't know if you've ever seen those. They're very, very campy and corny, and they're fun little animated films. So check those out. Those were made in like the 70s.
I know we're wrapping up. I just want to say one thing about The Hobbit. Martin Freeman was born to play like Bilbo Baggins. Oh, yeah. Like he's always sort of like that put upon British guy that's like,
yeah,
oh geez, what's happening? Oh gosh, like
that's super angsty, like he's just like super paranoid and not even jittery and stuff.
Yeah, not even like angsty, but like he's like a nervous guy. He's a nervous fella, and I'm glad he got that job.
And it translates well into like The Fellowship, so you can watch that right after. Like,
yeah,
even though the Hobbit films are not the best,
but Martin Freeman was born to play that role.
Yeah,
and he was really good.
And the guy who played Smaug was Benedict Cumberbatch, the guy who plays
Bunderflute Cumbersnatch,
Doctor Strange,
Bungee Jump Cumberbund, Benny Boo Cat Daddy.
These are all great
Benedict
names.
Cumberbatch. He's also, that's a reunion of the Sherlock show because Martin Freeman and Benedict Cumbersnoot is in the Sherlock show, and that show was good for like 2 episodes.
I don't think I've ever watched that or have any reason to watch that.
It's all right.
I just remember the Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. And he was like, the fight scenes where he would be like
in slow motion.
Yeah, he'd be like shot to the jugular. Yeah, discombobulate.
Those things were ridiculous.
He'd be like recovery time 6 months, full mental recovery, so 3 years or something like that. Like something really fucking stupid. Those are okay. Anyways, we're getting off on a tangent. So. Yeah, if you have not seen Lord of the Rings, go watch it. Go watch Rings of Power. Reserve your own judgment.
Bringing it back around, another place food is stupid expensive, airports.
Boom, airports. The Mall of America. Any mall.
Ooh.
Food courts.
Airplanes. Maybe on a train. Never been on a train.
I've never had real food on an airplane. I've only had nuts.
No, you probably don't want
Pause.
it. It's probably... I think we're done.
All right, we'll catch you guys on the next episode later.